How's it going, everybody? Marvel Cross 316 back on another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at Daredevil, issue number 3. This issue came out in August of 1964, and as we see on the cover today, Daredevil will be going up against a new villain, and this will be the first appearance of the Owl. The Owl makes his very first appearance today. We're going to find out who exactly the Owl is, as well as these two henchmen that he has today, as Daredevil goes up against his very first supervillain that is a part of his own, I would say, rogue gallery. Because we recall from last issue how he went up against Electro, but Electro is known for being a Spider-Man villain, but the Owl is a Daredevil villain. And so this is pretty much the very first true Daredevil villain that we're going to be looking at today. So I'm so happy to look at this issue with you today. So before we get started, go ahead, give this issue a big like. Comment down below what you like about this issue. I'd love to hear feedback from you. And then go ahead and subscribe if you have not. And let's go ahead and get started with this issue. As always, this is brought to you by Stan Lee, who wrote the issue. We have Joe Orlando doing the illustrations. We have inking by Vince Coletta and lettering page by Sam Rosen. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll see what the Man Without Fear has to do today with the Owl. So right off the bat, we have a guy. He was dressed up in green, walking into Wall Street here. We have the financial district here, and he is walking right into this office here. And we could just sense the villainy on this person right here. Who exactly is this person in green right here? He's walking past everybody, not giving a care about anybody. You see Daredevil here. He is also looking and waiting for anything to happen in the city, as we know that Daredevil has an uncanny sense of hearing. And so we see right here that we come to find out that this man in the green is our villain for today. He is the Owl. And the Owl is going into this conference room. We see that the secretary says that Mr. Gray, a certain Mr. Gray, has been waiting for him. Come to find out that he is the, I would say, district attorney for the Owl. And what we come to find out is the Owl has set this person up. The Owl has been known already for tax fraud. And so now this guy, this lawyer, this district attorney is in big trouble because he's been dodging his taxes. Owl has been dodging his taxes. And so now this person is guilty of fraud and he is going to be going to jail. So the Owl has set this innocent man up. And so we come to find out that there's sirens going on. What the heck is going on? We come to find out that this man has been killed. He has been murdered right on the spot as he was ran over by a car. So this guy right here, Mr. Gray, has been killed. We have a bunch of detectives come up and they ask, I always see connection between you and George Gray, and you are suspected for murder. So get ready, you need to get a lawyer. So we see the Owl here, and the Owl's like, you know what, I don't even care. I'll pick the first name within this little book here. Comes to find out that he points to Nelson and Murdock, and so he's going to be asking for their help. We see Foggy Nelson here. He instantly rejects the Owl because he knows that the Owl has a bad reputation already. But we see right here that Matt Murdock is going to actually accept the invitation. So now we have Matt Murdock, who is the Daredevil, is going to want to find out more information about the Owl. So we see Matt Murdock. He basically is going to be working with the Owl here. And here we go. The first meeting between Matt Murdock and the Owl takes place. And Matt Murdock, as we know, he can sense the heartbeats of everybody around him. And he can sense the villainy of the Owl. And he knows that the Owl is not going to return to get a hearing because the Owl doesn't care. And so we see right here that the Owl does not show up, and so now there is an immediate call to arrest the Owl. And so now we have Matt Murdock. His suspicions are correct. He knows that the owl is up to no good. So now he has a chance to go after him as Daredevil. We also see that Daredevil is going to make an adjustment with his costume here as he sews on this hood here, which will allow him to place his civilian clothes in so that he can change to Matt Murdock instantly whenever he needs to. So now we see Daredevil. He's on the trail of the owl, and he doesn't find the owl. We come to find out the owl has sailed away. So even though Daredevil, who is uncanny with his, other senses, was still unable to capture the owl. And so we see that the owl is at his hidden lair here. It's in the form of an owl. And so the owl here, he is going to show exactly who he is and his power. As we come to find out that he has two henchmen that he is going to be working with. And so one person in particular, this guy named Sad Sam, he's in charge. And Sad Sam is known for being a quick shot. And so Sad Sam is definitely good with the gun. But we also get to learn about another person. And this guy right here, he is known as the Ape, and we call him the Ape because he can take down an ape, an actual real life ape. And so we see right here what the Ape can do. And so Ape and Sad Sam, they're going to be working with the owl in this issue, and so the owl is going to be using them. But the owl is also going to show what he can do. He releases a trap door, and so we see Sad Sam and the Ape. They plunge into this hole, and they are in air. I mean, they're in midair, falling, don't know how many feet, but we see that the owl has the power to fly. And so the owl here, he can glide just like an actual owl can, and he rescues Sad Sam and the Ape. And so now we see that their biggest plan now is to go after Matt Murdock to get the lawyer that they need. So that's exactly what the owl is going to be up to now. We also see that Karen Page, over the last two issues, has had a crush on Matt Murdock. She's given Matt Murdock the chance to change his eyesight, or at least get an operation done, but he tells Karen Page that, you know what, I'm fine with my condition, and we'll talk about it for another time. And so he sees that Karen Page goes out as it's getting time for quitting time, that work day is over. But then Matt Murdock here, he senses in the other room that the owl is nearby. So he tells, Foggy Nelson to go walk Karen Page down. And so that gives Matt Murdock the chance to turn to Daredevil. He sneaks out of the building, crashes through this window, and here we go. We have the very first meeting between the owl and Daredevil. Daredevil takes on Sad Sam and the Ape with no effort at all. So now we see that Daredevil is going to be going after the owl here. But then we see that Karen Page had forgotten her purse. And that's going to be bad for Daredevil because now he is put in a sticky spot here, as now Karen Page has been taken hostage by the owl. And the owl says, you need to surrender now or I'm going to do something threatening to this person. We also see that Daredevil had called out and said, Karen, get back. And so now we see that Daredevil has shown that he cares about Karen Page. And now Karen Page is wondering, well, how does Daredevil know who I am? And so now Daredevil is forced to surrender. And so now Daredevil is being trapped in the lair of the owl. And so how in the world is the owl, or how in the world is Daredevil going to get out of this situation here? We're going to find all this out right here. We see that he wants Sad Sam and the Ape to alert the other underworld and let them know that they're going to release Daredevil to them. And so this is going to give the owl the chance to appear as an overlord, as somebody that needs to be taken notice. But we see that Daredevil, he snaps from his bondage here with his quick-like abilities here. And, just He's a genius on how to escape things like this. Karen Page warns Daredevil that there is booby traps below, and so Daredevil here uses this cage to swing, and we see miraculously that he lands into the other cage of Karen Page. This time he bends the bar and allows Karen Page to escape. They escape and they're now looking for the owl. He tells Karen Page to take a car and alert the police, but then we see that the owl returns. This time he is going to try to take them both prisoner again. Karen Page escapes with the car, and now we see that Daredevil is going to be fighting the owl, this time for the first time. So Daredevil and the owl are fighting right here. The owl realizes that Daredevil is a more menacing threat than he had first thought. So now there is a foot chase right here as we see Daredevil is chasing the owl. And then we see the owl, he releases one of his traps here, causes the stairs to turn into a slide. We see Daredevil plunge into a river. And so now the owl is going to try to escape by getting on this boat. We see Daredevil, he swims and he uses his cane here to jam up the propeller of the boat. But because of the water, Daredevil is not able to sense or hear if the owl is alive or not. And so we end on a little bit of a cliffhanger here as to whether the owl is alive or dead. We don't know. But we see that the cops are able to arrest the ape and all of his henchmen, all of the people that the ape and Silent Sam went to go get. So there's a big haul of the underworld here. So it's a pretty good victory for the police right here. And we see that Karen Page, as we end the issue right here, she knows that she's falling in love with Matt Murdock, but there's something about Matt Murdock's voice. There's something about his stature that reminds her of Daredevil. And so we see that Karen Page here is starting to catch on, where she's starting to try to, wonder about Matt Murdock. Why is he so mysterious, and is there connection between him and the Daredevil? We're going to find all this out as the story continues in issue number 4. I hope to see you there. Until next time, keep reading comics.